everyone, I'm Frankie Terriot-Stutz at the event at Rebecca Farm, and we have lots of excitement planned for you here this weekend, and particularly on the cross-country portion of competition, debuting the CCI 3-star division here for the first time in Kalispell, Montana. I'm joined by course designer Ian Stark, and Ian's going to take us around these beautiful courses here that riders have come to love and enjoy. But first, Ian, just how excited are you to debut the 3-star here? You've been wanting to do it for years.
I know, since I came here about 4 years ago, I've been desperate to have a CCI 3-star, and now it's happened, and now I'm sort of sweating, waiting for the riders to have a look at it. But no, it's great. I mean, we've taken out yet more of the Broussard's crops here. I think, since I've got here, there's more and more grass appearing and less cropped farmland. But we've got some good fences out there, and the footing is perfect. The boys have done a great job, and it's got this great watering arm that goes around most of the course anyway, and the bits it doesn't reach we've watered individually. So it looks good, and the boys have done a great job of the building.
Well, we'll primarily be focusing on that CCI 3-star division as we take you around, but also highlighting some of the other FEI divisions. And one of the really unique things about Rebecca Farm is they care so much about the details, and you'll see it all weekend long, but you'll really see it out on these cross-country courses. A lot of novice and training competitors traveling a very far distance to be here, and the jumps for them are just kind of as important for their level as the bigger ones for the big guys.
Well, I think they are. I mean, for them, it's their 3-star, so it's important that you look after them. And, the attention to detail has gone into all the big fences for the CCI 3-star. Same attention to detail goes into the smaller classes. So they're really just jumping a miniature version, and they've still got all the flowers and the decoration and nice spooky fences. So they've got to get out there and ride. And if they get round, it's a great achievement.
Right, absolutely. Well, so many different divisions of those lower level competitors competing this weekend. There's multiple divisions of novice and training, so you're going to see a lot of those competitors as well as getting to really enjoy seeing those big guys. We'll take you around now and show you the CCI 3-star course. Started here in the 3-star division with riders galloping out of that box. They'll have a few fences before they really encounter an exciting fence behind me. And Ian, this is a newer addition, but just such a fun thing. Riders don't get to really encounter that often.
Yeah, well, it was when I walked around, there was 3 trees here, perfect positioning, and I told the boys I wanted to put 2 keyholes, and I think they thought I was nuts, but for me it looks as though it's sort of a couple of eyes with a demented haircut up top, so it looks rather good. But they've had 3 gallopy fences, and then there's a big chicaner, and then they've got a bit of wiggle through the trees and through a dip to get to this keyhole, and then once they get through, they've got a sharp right turn to another brush fence. So this is the first combination on the course, but it looks a little bit intimidating, but for the horses this level, I think it should be okay. But it is early on the course, and always a bit of a roof on top of a fence the odd horse can take exception to it, but we'll see.
Well, you can kind of see the shadows around Ian and I too, and that will play a factor with some of those horses as well, and just being able to kind of gauge their distances here. And since we don't see keyholes as often as some of those other fences, what do you feel like it takes to be successful to ride it properly?
I think it really... on the day they've got to ride it straight and be accurate, but it's all the preparation to get to this stage. They should have seen it in the prelim level or the 2-star level. It's just that the size of the hole gets smaller as the levels get higher, and also the height of the brush. It's quite a decent height, this fence. It's 1.40 m in European terms. I don't know what that is in feet and inches, and for once I'm getting sort of modern when feet and meters, but it's a big fence, and there's not much time. They don't get a lot of time straight, so they really need to take a little bit of time to balance the horses and get them to jump it confidently, because a bad jump here, they may get away with it, but then it has an effect later on in the course.
Right, this course has so many different elements to see as we continue on. We'll show you those, but you really want to be successful here in the beginning or it's a long day. So we'll take you and take a look at that now. Brush fence obviously behind Ian and I, and this has been here for a couple of years, but it's definitely still an eye catcher here at Rebecca Farm. You make a fairly good turn and come out of the corner to have to jump this brush fence, and then there is a corner on the other side of it.
There is, yeah. The interesting thing is that, the riders are getting used to these big ditches and brushes that I've sort of put them in all over America now. But there's still it's a big jump. They come off a tight turn. They've got to be a bit gutsy. And then once they land, they're on a downhill slope, and they've got 4 strides to a right-hand corner. So they've got to be brave at this, and then they've got to be accurate at speed on the landing side. So it's got a real mixture of different questions, and the horses and riders have got to be able to react to what happens. If they have a bad jump here, do they add a stride or do they take a stride out on the landing? It's all really reacting on what happens on the day.
Well, at this CCI 3-star level, so much of it really comes into play with how quickly you can make those decisions, as Ian was saying, and be able to think on your feet and see if you're successful at what you're choosing to do.
Yeah, I think that is the whole thing, is thinking on your feet. You can walk and walk and walk, and you plan, some of the riders walk it 4 or 5 times the course, and they have it absolutely in their head, how they intend to ride it, and then something goes wrong, and they've got to be able to react. If they don't react, they're not winners. They have a 20, they have a run out, and then they're just an also ran.
All right, well, a great combination to get to watch here at Rebecca Farm. You'll want to come out if you're joining us on Saturday and check this combination out in person. is definitely a fan favorite come Saturday. There'll be thousands of people up on this hill in front of us, Ian, and it's really a fun place to watch. But this year, this water complex has a lot of new exciting elements, and I'll let Ian walk us through all of those.
Yeah, it's we've got a few water fences here, but this time they come into the first water. It's got a big drop in, then they run up the ramp, and they've got a bit of an angle if they want to be in a quick way over the moose. Then they gallop up the hill, and they've got a turn in front of the spectators here in the tents, and over the palisade, very, very upright fence with a turn downhill approach. Then they run down to this drop. It's got a 2-meter drop on the landing side here, so it's a big drop. They run down the hill over the duck on the left of the second water, and they don't actually go into the second water, but right over by the far side they've got almost a 90-degree corner, and underneath it is water. So it's a real spooky fence. And one of the officials said it looks very stark by nature, and I said, oh, well, I'm stark by name and nature, so there you go. But it's quite meaty. There is a long route if they don't want to jump that corner, but they've still got to jump the duck, and then they've got to waste a lot of time, and they've got to fish into the water and then over a brush corner. So they've got an extra jumping effort and probably an extra 15 seconds. So that if they're going to go that long route, they're not going to be winning any prizes.
Well, the terrain here plays such a factor, and Ian has utilized all of the terrain really on this course to play a role and decided on different fence placement based on the terrain, and we see a lot of that throughout this complex.
Yeah, and it looks relatively flat, this farm, but the spectator hill here is got the best terrain, and I've been hassling Sarah and Jerome for me to get up and come through the spectators, but they won't quite let me get through the spectators. But at least I'm up onto this hill and I've got a use of the terrain, and it really makes a difference, because if it's always flat, people can just gallop and gallop and gallop. But if they're always galloping, they gallop up this hill, suddenly the brakes fail on the way down. So they've got to know they've got control, and that's what it's all about. It's the all-round athlete here, really, that we're looking for.
Well, and definitely another place here on this course where you're going to see maybe some riders have a little bit of a sticky in a few of the elements, and then it might catch up to them by the end of the complex.
Yeah, it's cumulative effect. Some of the fences are very technical, some of them are big and wide, but it's a combination of all these different types of fences and the ups and the downs. And by the end of the course, have they overused their horse? Are they too tired, or are the horses suddenly getting a bit wild and they're out of control? We'll see a bit of both probably by the end of cross country. But hopefully they all have a safe ride, but we don't want too many clear.
Well, if you're in the Kalispell area, be sure to grab your lawn chair, your favorite seat, and come on out and join us here Saturday on this mountain. It's definitely a great place to get to watch and enjoy the action from. Well, as we just talked about, at the top of the hill, at the bottom of the hill here, they will have the last element of this combination, which is this open corner, and it's a very sizable corner. Ian always kind of downplays things a bit, but this looks pretty tricky.
Yeah, it's quite serious. It's big, and the nice thing is that all the horses can see underneath it is the water, and there's no sort of filling in there. There's no greenery, no being nice. It's very open and bare, and it is what it is. They've run down the hill. They've got a nice turn into it, but it really is about holding the line, being straight, and also being brave, because if the horses hesitate and look, this won't work. They'll run out. So they've got to be bold, and the riders have got to be accurate as well.
The door's certainly open here for a run out, as Ian kind of mentioned, and it'll be really important as riders make this turn that they do their homework and get that turn right.
Yeah, I think because they've been up the top of the hill, they've run down, they've come over the duck, and they have a bit of speed on, and round the corner with speed and trying to turn and be accurate, the chances are, they'll be running out the left-hand door, as it were. They'll be escaping out to the left, and the corners to the left. So it's encouraging, everything's encouraging to say, let's have a 20 penalties here. So if the riders don't pick up the reins, get the horses straight, and have them between the seat and the legs and the hand, they've got no chance.
Well, we're definitely in the heart of this course, as you can call it here, Rebecca Farm. We'll go on and check out some of the other exciting elements. pictures on social media this week from Rebecca Farm of riders going on hacks all around the property and going to kind of the far corners in these crop fields. Ian's done his best to kind of get rid of some of the crops here at Rebecca Farm to add more terrain for galloping and for these jumps to be sitting. But this is the far corner of the property here at Rebecca Farm and a new complex for the riders out here.
Yeah, well, because we put the CCI 3-star on, we needed extra distance. So I've come around this field and yet more of Jerome's crops have disappeared. So we've reseeded. It's still a little bit in its infancy because it was only seeded at the start of this year. But we've been watering out here because the big watering arm that goes around all the crops doesn't reach out here. But the footing is pretty good for the horses. And we've come out here. They've got a downhill approach and they've got two big ditch rails, and really I would expect the 3-star riders just to come in on the angle, 3 strides, angle to angle. There is a chance of going round on a turn and putting 4 strides in, but for me the horses get pulled off their line then. I'd much rather see the horses just commit on these 3 strides, and it should be a sort of 5-finger exercise out here, but it's new and it's got the downhill approach and depends what riders make of it.
Kind of easy to get distracted out here with so much galloping and just kind of be daydreaming a little bit and have this combination sneak up on you.
Yeah, but if they're, at least the good thing is they're far away from the spectators. So if they make a complete bollocks of it out here, nobody will see them.
That's right, only they'll have to know about it, unfortunately. And out here we're also hosting roads and tracks for the novice and trainee 3 days. So those riders will be out here this weekend as well and really getting to tour the property to its fullest. Well, quite a significant new complex behind me, and this is definitely one that a few riders are going to be losing a little bit of sleep over in the CCI 3-star division. Ian, this is a serious coffin.
Yeah, well, we had a coffin that I built over there that we used for the CIC 3-star last year, and I just thought it's not tough enough. We need to get good old-fashioned nitty-gritty coffin back into the course. I've been friendly in that it's quite a big solid rail in. It's not a sort of narrow rail, so the riders can be quite a little bit braver to this than you would if it was a sort of on a frangible pin fence. But they land on steep gradient down, and they've got 1 stride down to a big ditch and then 2 strides up the other side to a skinny. So for me the issue is getting over this first element. If that works well, the rest will be like a gymnastic exercise, but the riders will have to be in balance because 1 minute they've got to be back, then they're forward, then the whole time they'll be changing their position, and they've got to keep changing position, otherwise they interfere with the horse and the horse can't get on with its job.
Right, well, this log in, as Ian mentioned, is so significant here, and it's a good size log in. I mean, this is definitely a log you're going to have to ride into to be able to get in the first place. And then the drop is very significant. So you think we'll see some horses kind of getting up here and maybe ones that would normally leave the ground, but the last minute changing their mind.
I would hope not. I would hope that because it's quite a solid log that the riders can be a little bit, as long as if they do the balancing, they come from the green truck there, so they haven't got a lot of stride, so they can't get into a real fast gallop. And what I'd want them is to jump that truck, shorten the canter up, and then be punchy into the base of this. And I think we've given, I've been doing a few courses in the States for a while, and they're getting used to my coffins, but this is certainly the upper end. It's quite meaty, but I think the nice friendly log will help them get in, and then it's just survival for the rest.
All right, well, this is definitely an exciting new combination on this course. Ian and his guys have added 15 or so, give or take, fences on this new course, so there's a lot of new things to see here, which is very, very exciting. last water complex on the course. And Ian, just for a moment, kind of the level of detail that goes into these fences is so remarkable. If you haven't seen some of these in person, it's truly a piece of art behind us. And here we have the gator. Things are so dressed up, and it really kind of makes or breaks the look of things overall.
Of course it does, and a good builder can make the designer look a lot better than they are. And Bert Wood and his guys do a fantastic job. And Bert carves all these, and he does it with a chainsaw. It's not sort of carefully tapping away with a hammer and a chisel. He gets a chainsaw out and he carves all these incredible details and makes a fantastic job. And it just puts the finishing touch to the fences. And rather than just another log here, it's a gator. I mean, how brilliant.
Well, really just adds that extra element and extra touch. And we want to take a moment just to thank Bert and all his guys for all they do to make these courses possible, because it really does bring Ian's thoughts and plans to fruition and make them possible for these riders out here. So now kind of behind us here at this water complex, as we talked about a second ago, the gator will be the first element, but riders will have to come all the way up on this berm, and then it's actually pretty steep downhill coming in.
Well, I wanted them to come along the top of the berm and then be straight down to it. I didn't want them to come across the side of it and angle this, because it's a big fence. So they need to be straight. Horses will have their hocks under them. Big jump in and then land in the water, and then a sort of bending 4 strides over the brush on the island, and then a bending right hand turn to the sea element, another brush corner, and that's another 4 strides. You'll see all sorts of things. I would hope we don't see anybody going on 3, but we might easily see 5 and 5 in here. It depends on how bold the riders and the horses are, but it's a fairly serious combination towards the end of the course. The riders have to be sure they keep enough petrol in the tank for the horses to have the scope and the adjustability to jump all these.
Well, it'd definitely be easy, kind of as Ian's referencing, to get to one of these corners and just run out of steam. They're big-sized corners, and the openings aren't too large that you've left.
No, they're not, and as I say, when horses are getting tired, the adjustability isn't quite there. The opening and closing of the canter, and you press the go button and it doesn't always work to the same effect. And equally you say steady, whoa, and that sometimes takes a few strides to react. So it's all going to come into play here, and it's a higher end 3-star question, I think.
Certainly, and at the end of the course nonetheless. So this will definitely be another one you'll want to watch on the weekend. Fun complex here at the end of the course, and one you'll see little kids come out and play on kind of throughout the weekend, and spectators really enjoy this cowboy town that you guys have made here. And first, just kind of the first log pile, it's pretty well insulated by these trees and not too difficult for riders. But the horses on the B element, we saw something similar with horses at Galway Downs last year, and horses that were actually very experienced were so afraid of the little horses that they came home with some 20s.
Yeah, it can often be the effect, of these cardboard cutouts of horses, but this is right at the end of the course, 4 fences from home. The horses shouldn't be fresh and silly. They should be focused on their job. And this log pile, it's got the trees all around it, but there's a lot to look through to beyond, so there's a lot to keep the horses' interest. And it's a nice 4 strides through there, and it should ride quite well. But the attention to detail again of Bert's wife Chris, who does the decoration here. She's got the horses there, she's got the lady in pink trying to break her man out of jail. It's just all these attention to detail. It matters, and it looks great. I just hope that the horses don't put some of them off.
Well, it's still really fun if you get a chance to kind of check out all those little intricate details. They make it so fun here at Rebecca Farm. are at the very end of the course now, and this is the last combination for riders that Ian and I are standing at now. It's another great detailed fence with the cowboy pants, belt buckle, and hat behind me. And Ian, there is a fair amount of riding still to do in this combination. The belt buckle, very, very upright fence.
It is very upright, and it's at the top of coming onto this mound. It's quite a steep rise up. That should help because it gets the horse's engine, its hind end, underneath it, and so it should jump the rail well. But they want to be quite positive because it's a committed 2 strides to the hat here. If they're not attacking, they get 2.5. You could have a silly 20 here by stopping. And once they survive that, down the hill and then over the train, and that's the finish. But they can't really relax until they're through that finish. There's still a lot of jumping to do.
All right, well, very exciting course as a whole, and we cannot wait to see it be ridden on Saturday. And just kind of final thoughts, Ian.
I'm nervous at this stage. It's funny because you put it all down on paper and then you have it built and you walk around and you get so familiar with your courses, and then it's when people that haven't seen it walk around and you hear the reaction and you think, oh crikey, maybe I've got a bit tough here. But I like to keep the riders thinking and a little bit afraid because they usually ride better that way.
Well, riders will be looking for those big pink ribbons on Saturday. That will be the finish line for them here in the CCI 3-star division and several other divisions as well. And we want to just take a moment to remind everyone to please go visit the Rebecca Farm website and consider making a donation to Halt Cancer at X. Obviously, very, very close to home here at this facility with the founder, Rebecca Broussard, passing away due to cancer, and so many people affected, and you can really make a difference and contribute to the event and what they're doing in their part to make a difference. So we really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Be sure to follow us also on Facebook at Facebook/Rebecca Farm, and we look forward to seeing all of you out here on Saturday spectating as well.